want to talk about today about faith and religion. You're a pretty religious man.
Well, what I appreciate most my parents, they brought the Catholic faith with them. They were very, very faithful to the, to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And they
Most
taught,
Polish people were
yeah,
Catholic, weren't they?
yeah. And
Or Jewish, I guess.
our parents taught us how to pray in Polish. The Our Father and Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, the Hail Mary wasn't bad. I could get through that, but Our Father was real hard. He'd have to keep correcting me, And every morning when we get up, parents ask if you, have you prayed yet? If you didn't pray, you don't get nothing to eat. You better pray if you want something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, my father, he'd go to mass, and he's pretty faithful there. My mother, she'd have to stay home with smaller kids a lot of times.
Yeah.
Back in them days, they didn't have anybody. Stay with the children that way. And he'd dress up in a suit, on Sundays that way, dress up suit, tie, He'd dress up pretty nice, most all the men would.
Right.
Back in them days, they'd dress up when they went to church. And we had mass once a month back in them days. My father's living for about 20 years. Since the church started in 1916, about the first time they had mass there till about 1936. 20 years there, we had mass once a month till then we got a priest. We had mass every Sunday.
Okay.
Two priests there, that changed, that come from Hannibal. And we used to have to pay, before they came, we'd have to pay the priest, that when they came once a month, we had to pay the priest there that came from Hannibal, And
Now, was the church always over here at Alaska?
yeah.
Ever since 1916? So, did your dad help build that building, or?
Yeah, the cement plant built it. He knew how to put that stucco on there. That's what he done with a lot of.
Okay.
Oh, they done a real job. That's been there since that long, 1916, and it's still real good.
It looks good. Not a lot of cracks or anything,
No.
huh?
There might be a big crack, I think, in one place on the wall, but it's not falling off. It's not hurt. You can hardly tell it,
Yeah.
And
I just saw how they did that on TV the other day, because they were repairing a place, and that guy would throw that stuff on there and
that's
make
what
that
it was.
It's neat.
They just throw it on there.
With the trowel, and then because
Yeah.
they didn't really smooth it very much.
No.
And there at the end, they just threw it on there, and if you had a good touch, you could
It's
hit
real
right where
rough
you were
on
aiming.
the outside, so
Yeah.
you can do smooth,
So he did that. Huh?
yeah.
Now, who was the first priest that you had that was
Oh,
here permanently?
Father Vanderberg and Father Green, that two priests they changed.
So it wasn't Father McCorkle.
No, he
When-
came later, quite a bit later. Yeah.
I see.
And the sisters, they taught us, give us religious instruction on Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, come down from Hannibal,
Mhm.
from the McCoy School at that
Right.
time. Yeah,
Right.
they give us religious instruction. They taught us religions. They prepared us for First Communion and for confirmation. They prepared us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we went for our first First Communion, we didn't have no kind of car or nothing. We had to be up early in the morning, and some of the people in town, they took us in we slept with them all, in the beds there. They fixed the beds first.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. We slept all night there till next morning.
Who's we? You and
Me and a couple of boys, Hammer boys,
Okay.
3 of us there.
Yeah.
We were in a group there.
I see. Were your parents there too?
No,
They come the next morning?
yeah. My father come on a train. We had a train that's come up, bring the workers up, you know, bring the day workers, and they'd take the shift workers back, got off, you know, they'd take them back to town that way.
Right. Let's see, you've been taking care of that church for a long time,
Yeah.
haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, I took care of when I retired in 1974. I mowed the grass and I done repairs, some repairs on it. I painted the woodwork on the church. I had spent all my weeks of vacation on it, painting outside woodwork. You know, the on the corners the church there's wood, and up underneath the rafters and on the rafters on the outside.
Right.
And that church steeple up there, boy, I kind of went down there.
I was going to say, how'd you get up there?
Oh, I had to put a ladder on it. There's another smaller building, the sacristy is smaller.
Yeah.
I set a ladder on it and climb up the ladder and I could scramble across there pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it's pretty steep too.
Yeah, that
You could
bridge
slide
is-
off of there.
Uh-huh. Did you tie yourself up there or
Uh,
just held on?
yeah, I held on when I was
Just
walking.
careful.
The other thing I tied myself up there when I painted that cross on top of the steeple. That's where you look down there, boy.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me too much. The height didn't bother me any.
Did they usually have a pretty big crowd at the services there early on
Yeah.
when you were going with your dad? Or?
Yeah, they got pretty good.
Mhm.
They didn't get much money in,
Right.
when they come down for a collection. Most people, they get maybe a quarter, maybe 10 cents or 5 cents.
Yeah, just whatever they had.
Yeah, my dad, he'd give me 5 cents, nickel, put in there.
Yeah.
And whoever was with me, my sisters do, give me each of a nickel piece. And we was taking our instructions. There's three boys besides me start, taking instructions. There were about 15 girls there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
You were outnumbered, huh?
yeah, and they kept dropping off. One would drop off, and then another kept coming on Sundays, for instruction.
Mm-hmm.
They had a hard time later on, in life. Everybody didn't take their instruction. That they probably left the church, And I last one, I begged him. I said, stay, I didn't want to go to that church with 15 girls around
Yeah.
there. And my father caught me, and he said, wait till you come home tonight. And yeah, boy, I was scared. And the night come, boy, Mom let me in the house, and my dad, he didn't with me. He said, "Don't you do that anymore." I didn't. I took my instruction right there with the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I did, because I'd been the same as them other boys. I would have lost my faith. Yeah, they lost their faith. I know they come
Yeah.
back later on.
Because they didn't understand it well enough. Huh?
They had a hard time.
And I guess you got to do that to get confirmed, right?
Yeah.
Be an official member of the church.
Yeah.
Now, back then, the church, the ceremony, the mass was said in Latin, and the priest faced away from you. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. He back was towards the congregation, and the servers they answered the priest in Latin.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Did you ever were you ever a server?
Oh, I was a server later on, but not that time.
Yeah.
I served Master Father McCarkle a lot
Did
of
you?
time, yeah. I was a reader too, and I
Okay.
served mass too.
Right.
And a lot of times, in servers, they weren't too regular. They'd come in a little late, thought they'd be starting, already had mass started, and they'd come in. And yeah, that wasn't right there. They should have got, the parents should have got them in there right on time,
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times they're, in church there, one time, was in the evening, I got come to the, locked it, see if the church was locked. I always try to, most of the time I check the church in the evening to see if it's locked, Sometimes, some of them had the keys to the church and then leave it unlocked, or forget to lock it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, the choir had, they had a choir practice at night, and after the next evening when I come up there, I opened the church door, boy, and a hot blast of air hit me. I run up, and I looked back, and that Easter candle, big one, is all curled over,
Mm-hmm.
and the two candles on the altar, they were curled down, and they turned the thermostat the wrong way. They turned it on way up high instead for as it go. Yeah,
Thought they were turning it down, but they were turning it up.
yeah, I was lucky. I guess it finally must have shut itself off,
Yeah.
sometime. It got too hot. It could have burned the church down and got too hot that way. And another time, that thermostat, it was faulty there. And I don't know to see what happened that time.
Stuck on or something like that, or
Yeah,
got hot.
yeah.
You told me that one fan motor went bad too, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it got real hot that time, too. But the thermostat, it was faulty.
Mm-hmm.
It turned it. I had to turn it off and turn itself on.
Mm-hmm.
It's faulty, And it
Yeah.
burned. It burned real hot in there. I don't know. What really happened, I forgot. Just
Yeah.
it done some damage in there, I think.
Now, when you first had the church there, what they do for heat? They
Well,
burn
they had-
wood or
they had-
coal or
they burned coal.
coal?
You had to have a big stove on the one side. Boy, it's cold in there in winter time.
Yeah.
You had to be right by the stove.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was real cold.
Yeah, I guess there wasn't no fans or anything to
No.
be pushing that air around.
I remember boy, it was real cold sitting in there in church.
Did you get coal from the cement plant then for that? Or?
No, oh well, they bought it. They had a coal yard there in Lasco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could buy by the ton there.
Hmm.
They
How much is a ton of coal back then?
yeah.
How much would what a ton of coal be back then?
Oh, I don't know, maybe $6-7, I think, back in them days, yeah. And they'd order a coal by the boxcar, when the car loads.
Yeah.
And they had a coal yard there, and they'd shovel it out of that car, on the rail, and
Mm-hmm.
shovel it in a wagon. They had a wagon, had a one-horse wagon there. And then,
So they deliver the coal to you, and
yeah.
shovel it down in your basement
Yeah.
or wherever you
Well,
want it.
they just pile it up, use it around. You had to put it in your wherever you want it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that. It's just an old man there, he'd just shovel it down on the ground somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
By most of them, they might keep it on the ground there, just use it that way,
They cover it up or just leave it?
Yeah. And see, in Hannibal, they always, they'd carry your coal in metal baskets, when you'd order coal there. I remember they'd carry it upstairs or anywhere,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Carry it down to your basement where you wanted, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've seen like coal chutes
Yeah, coal chutes, yeah.
in some of the older houses where,
Yeah.
you could tell they just were able to shovel it down into a little bin or something down there next to the furnace. But you still had to shovel it in the furnace, though. Huh?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember ever burning any coal.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a cook stove and a coal stove here in our home back on the other home we had
Over in
at high school, yeah.
What'd you have here?
We had the same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah, we had a cook stove and a heating stove too.
Was the heating stove in the other room?
Yeah. Yeah, we burn just that driftwood, it burned pretty fast.
Yeah.
About 9 o'clock it'll go out. Boy, then you got cold by morning, real cold.
Mm-hmm.
Water freezing, water bucket. One morning I woke up, there's a porch over here. That door was, or this door, it opened up this small porch.
Mm-hmm.
This was built later, 1947 or something, when we come over from the army. This room here only had 2 rooms back when we first moved here. And there's one morning the wind was blowing pretty hard, and there's a line of snow across the floor back in there in the bedroom.
Coming through under the door?
No, it came cracking the door. That door, when it kind of make noise or rattle back and forth.
Yeah.
When
Well, it's cold when the snow doesn't melt inside.
Yeah. And our windows, boy, it freeze over. Thick coated ice on them,
Yeah.
If you had to scratch the ice off to see out through them.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that freezing windows was really cold. And that weather was colder back in them days, right around 0 to get that way.
Yeah.
And when you had to go get water, and a pump froze up, we'd wrap a bunch of rags around the pump, set them on fire till they thaw out. Because there's that down below the pump, there was a kind of a sucker on the end that would,
Yeah.
that pump that
So
water
you had
up.
to free that up.
That freeze it there and we had to thaw that out.
Let's see what kind of time I got left here. We got another 10 minutes. Now with the 2 rooms, in the front room was a kitchen.
The kitchen was,
In the
the
front?
bedroom was on that, it's a petition right here.
Okay.
And the kitchen was right in this part.
Okay, right in the middle.
No, it just only had 2 rooms. The kitchen took the whole room there, and the other was the bedroom. Bedroom and a living room too, combined.
Right.
Yeah, got a stove in there. Yeah, and one time we had, we slept we had a bed here in the kitchen too.
Yeah.
And they had one bed where the girls slept, mom and girls slept. They had a feather bed there.
Oh, yeah.
It was warm. And we over here, we was freezing. We had an old blanket and some old coats we throwed over us there. Boy, we slept 2 on one end and 2 on the other end. It was all 4 of us boys slept.
What'd you have for a mattress?
We had a mattress on the bed.
Oh.
Yeah. It was just kind of small bed, but we hugged each other, boy.
Uh-huh.
Kept.
Yeah, I guess that helped keep you warm.
Yeah.
The girls got the warm bed, huh?
Yeah, they had the feather bed. Boy, I used to kind of envy them. Boy, I wish I'd get it, have a feather bed.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'd get under there, daytime, just, boy, it's nice and comfortable in there.
Huh. So all that down is warmer than just a regular old mattress. Huh?
Yeah, it's got that feathers in there. Yeah, most all the foreigners they had feather beds.
Oh, yeah.
and they made their own.
You're gonna say you make it yourself, or?
Yeah, they made it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Put their feathers in there, and they made their own pillows too. You know,
Right.
They raised their own ducks and geese.
Mhm.
Geese, I think, mostly white. They use
So they use a down off the white goose. I guess you can pluck those without killing the goose, though, right?
oh, might, but I think they saved the feathers when they killed the goose.
So they just killed it and ate the goose, and then took the feathers.
Yeah.
I've heard where you can actually pull some down off of the breast of a goose or a duck,
Yeah.
and then it'll grow back more.
Yeah.
But hey, it'd make a good meal too. So
Yeah. Yeah, they used to raise a lot of people who had geese and ducks.
yeah,
They
well, those
raised-
eider ducks makes that eider down. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be good.
And they raised chickens too.
Yeah.
And they have some of them raise their own hogs too. They'll have 2 hogs. They'd have the hog right in the yard, you know. Had a pen there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them back in the villages there, they had their own cows there. Some of them that peddle their milk, you know, they'd sell their milk. I know one family there that bring at evening they'd bring milk down to the village around there. They had different customers there, I guess, that deliver their milk.
Mhm.
Some of them take 1 quart, some of them 2. They had containers with them full of milk.
Yeah.
Everybody had a garden.
Uh-huh.
They depended on their garden.
Garden and some farm animals. Huh?
Yeah. And the cement plant, there was a big flat down behind the Catholic church. There was a real big flat. They hauled dirt down in there and they filled that all up. And they plowed that every year, and they'd measure it off, slick it off in plots, and the workers you'd give each one of the workers their plot, you know, put their
Mhm.
garden in there, and they raised a lot of vegetables in there. We raised like mostly potatoes and cabbage,
Mhm.
mostly. In summertime, when it's growing weather, when you had them gardens, women would send their men off to work about 8 o'clock, before 5 of them coming down the road with the hose on their shoulders, you know.
Mhm.
Some of them singing, you know, and they were Slovak women usually. Yeah, they'd be coming every morning about 8 o'clock, and they'd come to the gardens there by where the cement plant giving them plots, you know.
Yeah.
They'd work in them gardens to about, you know, pretty close to noon. They'd come home, maybe, and fix dinner for their children.
Mhm. Yeah, it takes quite a little bit of work to have a good garden, doesn't it?
Yeah, they done it. Yeah, they have a whole boy. They really whole. All of them, they work too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing easy about having a garden, that's for sure. Now, when your dad was alive, or you prayed in the morning and then in the evening before you went to bed, then before each meal.
We didn't pray before a meal.
Is that right?
We didn't at that. But we prayed in the morning and the evening, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you say prayers in Polish then, or?
Yeah, we said that we had to say it in Polish. We had to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Boy, one time, me and Sophia, your grandma Sophia, we were racing through the prayers, you know, see which one was. You know, we were kids. We
Right.
we were racing to see which one could get done quick. My dad, he sneaked behind me. He grabbed both ears and gave me a jerk like that. He said, "No more of that."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he fixed me up.
Yeah. No more racing through prayer, huh?
Yeah, we didn't. they shouldn't do that, but
Yeah.
he corrected us on that pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
He had a razor stripe. Everybody had a razor stripe back in
Right.
the day, yeah. And they had a woodshed too. Sometimes they take them to that woodshed and give them a good striping, you know,
Yeah.
when they need it.
Mm-hmm. Try to stay out of trouble, then you don't get those,
Yeah.
huh?
When with school, we got switching.
Oh yeah.
I got a switching one time too. With them Willow switches, you know. There was a creek by our school there, and we'd always want to go down that play around in that creek down there. And the teacher told us, "Don't you go in that creek and play there, get your feet wet." And I went with the other boys there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing pretty good. We all walked across the creek. We had the rocks on there.
Uh-huh.
I got about halfway, and he shoved me off in the water.
Oh.
Then when I come in, the teacher, she'd check all our shoes, you know, feet, and mine were wet. Boy, I got the whipping. I cried, but it didn't hurt that bad. I just, yeah. That's the only whipping I got in school.
Who was it that shoved you in the water?
Oh, James Dryden, he's one of, they live by the school there, yeah.
Did you get him back?
No, I didn't shove him back in because
Guess
he
you have
probably
to turn
got
the other
too.
cheek, huh? Yeah, really. He probably would have got switched too then, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah. And the teachers, a lot of times, you know, once you get ready with some of the children, she sent them out and cut willows, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for switches, you know.
Have to cut your own willow that they're going to beat you with? Oh, that's not good. I don't guess you could find a weak one or something, huh?
And sometimes they play a trick and cut willow by half.
Cut it half in
And
two.
it break well when they
Mhm.
they do that, yeah,
That probably just make her madder.
yeah.
What was your teacher's name back in grade school? Do you recall?
Oh, they've had
there
Miss
quite a
Cattle, Miss Fanny, and Miss Lewis, and Miss Morrow. And
Yeah. Now, what grade did you go through?
I quit my third year of high school. That's
Third year in high school?
Third year, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's quite a
About
ways.
halfway in the third year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's when you went in the conservation corps, or?
Shortly afterwards, I
I see.
went out Sims Orchard and I picked apples that fall. I quit in the fall time.
Mhm.
I went and got a job there.
How far did Grandma Sophie go through?
She didn't go too far. Maybe about 7th grade, as far as I remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She had to take care of Steve, my youngest
Mhm.
brother. His
Right.
and Mom worked at cement plant at that time.
Ah.
When my dad died, they give her a job at cement plant.
Yeah.
They give her a job. She worked there about
She
2
sewing
years.
sacks or something, or
Huh?
would she sew sacks? Those cement
Yeah.
sacks?
Well,
or what?
she was a classifier, they call them. They'd check the sacks over, turn around, if they got holes in them, they'd put them in a bundle there, and they had storage there. They had machines,
Mhm.
real heavy machines there.
Right.
They'd sew the patches on them sacks. They had all cloth sacks back in them days.
Right,
No,
right.
no paper sacks.
Yeah, Grandma Sophie told me about sewing
Yeah.
sacks. There.
And then whenever the companies buy, like a lumber company buy a bunch of cement, they save the sacks. They
Yeah.
get their money back, you know, for the sacks.
I see.
And they classify them,
Mm-hmm.
then they repair them, and then they fill them back up again on the way.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
Better than throwing away a bunch of paper.
yeah,
Well, I'm gonna turn this off for the day.
okay.